This video covers how to use T&A, time and attendance, in Airfob Space. Now, to start out, let's say this clearly up front. Airfob Space does not have a complete time and attendance management system. We allow you to capture T&A codes like start shift, end shift, or entry and exit logs so that you can feed these into another T&A system, either by exporting your logs or using our API. We have integrations with several payroll and time and attendance systems as of the time of this recording, and we'll be adding more as time goes on. So how does T&A work with Airfob Space? You have a few different options. One of the most prominent ones, one of the ones that we're proudest of, is mobile T&A. As you can see on your screen here, users can select in the Airfob Space app a T&A code, which can be customized in their Airfob Space app. And then when they tap the reader, this T&A code will be recorded in the event logs so that you can see it later. Let's take a detailed look at T&A in Airfob Space, how you set it up, and how you use it. Right now, we're looking at the event logs on our site, and if you see far on this side, there's a column for T&A. So I can see next to each of these access granted events, there's a start shift, start break, and end shift. These are customizable fields that you can select for your employees to use. First, let's take a look at mobile T&A, as that's one of our key features. To set up T&A on mobile, you will need to go to Settings, then to Site, and then Settings. To do this, you'll also need to be logged in as a master administrator, as this section of the settings is only available to masters. Here you see the T&A on mobile settings. Make sure to activate this and confirm. Then you can set up labels for each of the custom T&A keys that you would like to use. Only the ones that you set labels for will appear in the app. So if you only set labels for 4 T&A keys, then only 4 options will appear in the Airfob Space app when users are trying to enter the building. So here we have start shift, start break, and end break, and we can also specify if these are clock in or clock out events. And these event types are retrievable using our API. Now that that is saved, we need to go to Device Management, and we need to specify the devices that should use mobile T&A. So let's go down to our Airfob Edge Reader Ultimate here and scroll down. And to use mobile T&A, you'll find T&A settings and then go to mobile. You can select whether or not T&A is required or optional using this checkbox. Below, under the T&A events, you'll see that none of this is editable because mobile T&A settings are done at the site level rather than reader by reader. So you can't change the labels and you cannot change the event types that are set here already. Once you have set up T&A here, save your settings, and of course, you will again be able to go to the monitoring section and event logs, and you will be able to see T&A events recorded along with access granted logs right here. One other important thing is that you can customize these table columns, and note that T&A is usually at the end, but if we really care about it, we can move it to the beginning here, and we can also take out some of the unnecessary information so that you can see these T&A events very clearly. Now let's look at some of the other T&A options that are available beyond just mobile T&A. We'll go back to device management, registered devices, and our Airfob Edge Reader Ultimate again. And instead of mobile, let's start with the default option, disabled. No T&A information will be collected from this device. By schedule, this allows you to set a specific schedule. So for example, you could set the schedule in the morning from 8 a.m. until noon, and anything during that time would be a clock-in event. And then you could have something that's from noon to 5 p.m. or maybe 1 o'clock to 5 p.m. after lunch, and anything recorded during that time would be a clock-out event. Now, we also have a fixed option. So fixed means that you can set one of these codes below. So for example, start shift. And every time someone authenticates using that reader, using their phone, using a card or a QR code, whatever method they're using, that would be recorded as a clock-in event. You could change from code 1 to code 2, and this could be a clock-out event. Now, this is very useful if, for example, you have two readers next to each other just for T&A, one for clock in, one for clock out, and they're clearly labeled. Or if you have a clock in reader on the outside of the door and a clock out reader on the inside of the door to catch people as they're coming in and going out. And finally, the mobile option that we discussed before. As always, make sure to click Save after you set your T&A settings. That's a quick overview of how T&A works in Airfob Space. As I mentioned at the beginning, you will need to pair this with a T&A service connected via our API, or you can export the logs to a CSV file in the event logs as well. And that button, as always, is right here to do an export.